guys, welcome to another episode of the Ali Show, and today we have a very special guest, professional MMA fighter Nyrene Crowley. Did I get that right?
You did, yeah.
Okay, awesome.
I like the fact that you make sure everyone's name is being pronounced properly because I've had some horrendous
Yeah, and
experiences
I-
of people.
there was someone's last name that I actually butchered, but I didn't butcher because he he actually told me like
Say the name.
there's two ways. I don't want to say, but anyway, because what has happened is like there are other people who have went out and said it the way that I pronounced it. I don't know if I was the one who influenced the pronunciation of the name, but anyway, so he did tell me that there were two ways to pronounce his name. So I got one of them, so at least it's not that bad. Anyway, Nyrene, how are you?
I'm very well, thank you. Yeah.
How's your day been or your week been?
Man. It's really tough for me to kind of remember days at the moment. It's all kind of blending into one. Everything's a little bit chaotic since I've been back in the country. So, it's been chaotic, but it's been good, man. I'm so happy to be home.
Which is pretty interesting, talking about just coming back into the country. We'll get on that in a while. But before we carry on, for those who don't know who Nyrene is, could you give us a brief introduction about yourself?
Okay, so kia ora, my name is Nyrene Crowley. I'm a professional MMA fighter. I started in New Zealand, but I've been living over in Asia, traveling around Asia and fighting around, Singapore and Thailand for the last 3 years. So that's what I've been doing, and now I'm back in the country. So
nice. That's pretty good.
And I like to mention that I'm half Samoan and half English Irish too, because I like to acknowledge my roots.
That's not really half, so that's like 1/3.
Yeah, kind of.
Each.
Yeah.
Samoan, English, and Irish.
Yes,
Ooh, that's a pretty interesting mix. But anyway, one of the question is obviously, did you start when you started fighting? So when you started combat sports. What was the first art that you got into? Was it like Muay Thai? Did I get that right?
Yeah, you did. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
Was that a stab in the dark?
Yeah. I was like, I hope I don't get that wrong. But I think I know. I knew that you did Muay Thai from what I saw. So I just wanted to make sure.
Yes.
But so when did you actually start getting into fighting and all that?
Yeah. So I started quite late. So fighting was never something that I grew up around or I was really ever exposed to, because my parents weren't kind of really into it, as with a lot of female parents and parents in general that have children, kids that want to get into fighting, it's really tough. And so for me, I started later when I was kind of in a position to make my own decisions and drive myself to my own trainings. So I started at 24, and it basically started because I was playing national level tag. I was representing the country playing tag rugby, and I loved it, and I was getting fit for a tournament, and I still really love to
Sorry, I'm a little bit of a noob. I gotta ask the question, what's the difference between tag and the normal
and touch?
Yeah.
So tag, touch, it's the same kind of game, but you just touch the person to continue the game. With tag, you have special shorts, so you got Velcro on the side of your shorts, and you have to wear physical tags that have Velcro. And instead of touching the person, you have to actually rip the tag off. So it's based more on a league format of playing, whereas touch is kind of more it's not exactly, but it's more union based. It's kind of more that free flow style, and league. So the tag is kind of more based on the league structure.
Oh, okay.
So yeah, I love it.
Oh, ripping the tag off someone's shorts,
So you got to be really good with moving your hips and avoiding tags, and you can pull us some pretty. I've got a mean step, just saying.
that side step, man. Oh man, but what I'm man, that's quite. I wouldn't say rough, but man, has someone really tried to grab your shorts and
Oh yeah, all the time. But that's why you have to wear so they have tight shorts.
Tight,
so
so it's tights and then it has the Velcro on the side.
Yeah.
Oh, so it's quite. Is it quite easy to take that thing out?
You have to work some. There's like little tricks. So like so
tricks
I don't know how much
well.
you guys know about tag, but like so if you pinch the tag, it kind of stays on a little bit longer. There's little tricks around it, but
Okay.
tag itself is kind of like it's supposed to be like a non-contact sport.
Okay.
Before
Hey you,
that,
don't forget to subscribe, like, and share this video.
Before that, I had tried like rugby league, rugby union, and because I'm so small, I used to get bashed around so much.
But
Like,
isn't that a good thing? Like you probably be faster, or you can squeeze through and like trying to jump, and you're like,
yeah, I don't know. After like the 5th concussion, I think I, decided to stop.
Probably a good idea.
Yeah, I mean, I love the sport, but it was and I love to run and I love to sprint because I got brought up in a very athletic, strong background.
Competitive?
Yeah, and so I love to sprint, and so I love that about, being able to run. But yeah, man, just coming up against those big girls, I just didn't have a chance. So
it's a little bit different. I think but like there's no real like weight categories for that. It's like
no. Because with women, like for men, you can, because there's so many men that obviously play the game. They can break it up into weighted categories, but a woman's just all open. When I was playing, it was all open. So
a little bit of a disadvantage there. So
just a little bit.
Yeah, a little bit. Yeah. No pun intended. Anyway, back to so you started with tag and then
so I was trying to get fit for a tournament, and one of my friends actually asked me if I wanted to come down to a boot camp that they were running so I could get fit, and I turned up and it was a whole bunch of fighters. And
where was this at?
So it was at Otahu Rugby League Club. We used to do these really intense trainings on the hill there, and so that was their Sunday boot camp. And I loved it. I loved it, and it was the first time that I had ever been exposed to like
on a Sunday as well.
Oh, it was Sunday Hills. Yeah, it was Sunday Hills. Hills of Eyes was the name of the training session.
Wow.
So it was going to hurt a lot. And if you did those training sessions, you will know because they got worse.
Oh my goodness.
But so that's how I got into it. So I would train with them. I would do their kind of fighting, and then eventually they kind of talked me into coming into their gym, which was where they were teaching, like obviously like the actual physical nature of fighting. So Muay Thai. So I learned how to. I was a bit hesitant at first because I never really saw myself as a fighter, to be honest. I was always kind of like the diffuser, in arguments. Like I would kind of I was the one that would go and like, and there were I just didn't see myself as a fighter. So I was a bit hesitant, but eventually they talked me into it, and then I got talked into my first fight. And then they kind of framed it as like a bucket list, like just take it off your bucket list, And I was like,
that's how usually people
that.
try to rope. They try to rope you into
and then 6 years later.
Wow.
So
where was it? Where was the first fight at?
Oh gosh, it was a while ago. So I was 24 when I was like first started training. So it was about 6-7 years ago now. And
you're just telling everybody your age.
Yeah, no, don't do the math. Please don't. Don't do the math. The first fight, I think they were really local, like I think our gym hosted a few fight nights at the Otahu Rugby Club first, and then I remember fighting on a few like local shows, like Richie Hardcore was putting shows on, and it was just awesome for us, because our gym was quite different in the sense that we had a lot of girls, and it was so cool, like, because, it's very rare. Obviously, I understand now because I've been around for so long that it's very rare to have like a good, solid group of girls at gyms. And City Kickboxing is very different because there's just a lot of people in general. But
big numbers.
Yeah, but so when I started, I was very lucky to be surrounded by some pretty amazing girls who taught me a lot, and they're still really good friends to this day. So,
and even like 6-7 years ago, it wasn't still like as big as it is now.
Yeah.
So it's pretty surprising that there was a large number of girls at that gym. Well, that's pretty impressive.
Yeah.
So it's been 6 years. That's quite a while. So when you started Muay Thai and then you started competing, how many fights did you have before you kind of decided to compete in MMA?
I think I'd had a few. I think it was probably up to about 7 or 8 fights, or maybe a little bit more. And then I basically, like, the only reason, well, not the only reason, but one of the main reasons why I decided to cross over to MMA was because I wasn't getting fights, and I got to the point where I was really struggling to find fights. Girls were pulling out. It's a very different kind of mentality with girls, that fight. So I really struggled to keep and secure fights, and so the only way that I thought that I could maybe get some more is if I started to learn more about MMA. And honestly, like, because I got taken under the wing of Hamish Robertson at Auckland MMA in Vando. Shout out, awesome gym. But they took me under their wing, and they started teaching me MMA, and I was disastrous to start with, honestly. I mean, as you are. But I loved it. I loved relearning something that was kind of similar to what I was already doing, but so very different, and just that hunger to learn. Because I think at that point, I would have had more than 9 fights. I think I was almost at a point where I was starting to really understand Muay Thai quite a bit, and I was comfortable there. And so I got then placed into MMA, which was so different, and I thrive in that. I thrive in that environment where you learn and you're being taught these new things, and you're learning arm bars and chokes, and I was like, this is awesome. And it was cool because the background that I came from kind of translated quite well to it. So
the
doing
discipline
rugby
side of it, or
no, just like, like
physical?
the physical side. So I was, obviously, like I said, I got brought up in athletics quite a bit. I was playing netball. Just like any other Kiwi kid, man, you play every sport under the sun. And so just like double leg takedown, rugby tackle was basically how they taught me how to double leg. They're like, just tackle her like in rugby. And I was like, oh, okay, I know how to do that, So it was cool seeing these like little things kind of translate and almost make it still really enjoyable for me. And because I think if it was too overwhelming, I would have just not even gone there. But it was awesome.
So like, well, I think so. You already have because you had like an extensive striking background, like Muay Thai, so and then going into was it wrestling or BJJ, or like
it was
a bit of both?
it was a bit of both. It was mostly BJJ to start with. So I got eased in kind of with gi first, and then eventually started to learn enough to jump into like no gi, and then at MMA, at Auckland MMA, they were doing, everything. So you jump into a wrestling class or, so you learn these things a little bit separately, but then it all comes together when you get to roll. And then when you get to a certain level of experience and knowledge, you can spar. So it all came together, but you kind of tend to learn these things a little bit separately when you're starting.
How long did you well, this is an interesting question because we talked to Cam Ralston, who was telling us about how long you should be training in a gi before you go to no gi.
Right.
How long did you spend? What I wanted to.
Oh gosh, I think I was
roughly.
still. I would have still been white belt, but maybe not long. Not long. Maybe
6 months.
Yeah,
8
maybe
months?
less than maybe less
Oh,
than
really?
because I was quite keen to start. So I remember jumping to my first no-gi comp. It was like no-gi nationals or something, and ended up doing quite well. And so and that was very new kind of into my journey with MMA. So not long, maybe 3 months.
I
3,
think
4 months.
that's the other one. Like you kind of know, or is it like you kind of know where you want what you want to do, and not really want to be competing in gi anyway. Ooh, some people might get angry at me.
But my coach knew that, he knew that I wanted to do MMA. So and I have nothing against gi. I did a lot of gi when I was in Bali, and so and I was under some really good gi coaches, and so man, I'm a 2-stripe blue belt now.
Ooh,
2-stripe. And I love it.
Talking about like struggling to get fights for Muay Thai and that, you actually did get to quite a high level in Muay Thai. You actually had I saw a video that you were actually campaigning for a world title fight. Did that fight
it did.
come true? Oh,
yeah, it did. Yeah.
Okay,
So
tell us a little bit about that.
So I mean, it kind of had to progress quite quickly because obviously I was under this kind of understanding that I've started late, so I really want to capitalize on my time, and so I was fighting really amazing fighters, and just purely because you know, I knew I didn't have a lot of time. So when fights would come, I would just take them. So I was fighting Alma Uniku when she was coming up. The fight that you're talking about, the world title fight, was with Kim Townsend. And yeah, that was an interesting fight because I was kind of approached when I hadn't been doing dedicated Muay Thai for a while. And the difference between Muay Thai and MMA is so vastly different. People don't really always understand. And so for me to transition and do a camp, like I really loved coming back to my roots, but it was just different, you know, and I didn't, if I'm going to take Muay Thai fights, I want to be able to dedicate the right camp and the right amount of like training for Muay Thai because
Like a certain amount of time.
yeah.
A little bit about what you just mentioned about starting late and you kind of want to do it a little bit faster. You felt that it was that helped you, or was that like a bit of pressure, you know, knowing that age is, I wouldn't say, well, it's quite hard to say because I personally know of some fighters who started like relatively late, 26, 28, 29 even, and have went on to be world champions. So, and
wow.
like, so I would, you know, but like for your case, would you say that actually helped you to push you to work harder?
Yep, 100%. Yep. I didn't feel pressure at all when I'm like talking about that kind of stuff because I wasn't really thinking about that, you know, like I just did it because I loved it, you know, and when I was in there, like, yeah, it really did push me because I'm like, I really want to keep doing this thing, and I was kind of at this phase of my life where I'd graduated from uni, I was working a full-time job, and then this came along, and I was like, what do I do? And then I was faced with these questions like, what really makes you happy? And so like that was what was driving a lot of like me trying to like do a lot in such a short amount of time, was because it just made me so happy. And so I'm like, I just got to keep doing this, and then eventually quit my job. Quit my job, left the country, and just kept doing what made me happy. And so that's
That's a pretty bold like thing to do, you know. It's not it doesn't come easy to everybody to kind of did what you did. So would you tell us a little bit about what were you doing before you actually cut that whole job in?
So I was actually working for Auckland Council. So I graduated a Bachelor of Communications, and I majored in studio television and journalism, which I didn't end up using, but it gave me some amazing skills, you know, and so that translated into obviously like the career choice that I was kind of going down. So I was working for council and working with people and communities, and don't get me wrong, you know, I loved working, you know, at ground level and working in communities, but it just didn't quite fuel the fire that I knew was, and I knew there was just so much out there for me. And so, yeah, essentially,
There's a lot of restrictions.
yeah. So council, obviously, yeah, it's a very political agency.
Yeah, it is. At the end of the day, it is.
Yeah, and there's a lot of things in the back that, you know, there's paperwork, there's you know, obligation, there's.
You felt like it was a little bit mundane.
Huge, yeah. And so I was working a 9 to 5 job, Monday to Friday. I was training every single day after work. Then I would be running in the mornings, going to work, training after work. You know, it's like it was a pretty full on schedule. But yeah, you got to do what you got to do. You know.
But that's like, yeah, and I think you'd enjoy, like it's quite good that you actually realize like what you enjoyed over, you know, some people love their 9 to 5. I don't, like, you know, and there's really nothing wrong with that. Like everybody has their own thing, you know. No, not everybody's the same. But like the fact that you quickly realized that that wasn't you or wasn't what you wanted to do, because you know you'd have some people who end up doing that for like 10, 20 years before they decide that
of course
it's not them. Like, man, that's 10, 20 years
but it's
deep
hard,
into
man,
it,
because
you know.
like there's so much social pressure or societal pressure about, you know, what we grow up believing is the right way to live, you know, like study, get a job, get good money, buy a house, build a family, have kids, have a white picket fence. And so then the nature of, you know, people understanding that these structures are being challenged a little bit is so cool, because people are starting to understand there's different ways to live. There's there's quality in you know, actually pursuing what makes you happy. And if you can do a good enough job at what makes you happy, the money will come. And it's like, it's beautiful to see it kind of change, you know. But that's I mean, you would have grown up in the exact same time, so it's the same kind of thing. So.
How did you feel on that day where you actually like, you know, how did you leave? Like,
Oh, bro, I was
just,
nervous.
just
I was nervous as fuck. Am I allowed to swear? I'm so sorry.
yeah, you can.
Can I? Okay,
You can say whatever you want. It's all right, yeah.
Okay, I thought I gotta clear that up
Nah,
because I gotta check
it's all right,
myself
yeah,
sometimes.
all
Okay,
right.
I was nervous, like straight up. It was like you said. I mean, like I kind of made the decision, and then halfway through, I was like, I would have like these panic attacks. I'm like, what the fuck are you doing?
Yeah,
What
the
is going
doubts
on?
start to creep in.
Yeah. And I was lucky. I was surrounded by some amazing people who just supported me right up until I got on that plane. And so, yeah. And so, it's a nerve-wracking thing, but I knew that there was no way I would go. If I was going to do anything, I was going to do it now, you know, and I had to make that decision. It was either be content with the life you have here and, you know, do that, or actually give this a good go. And it's going to be hard, but yeah.
So basically, you put aside some money, saved up, quit your job, and just booked a one-way plane ticket out. That's like the life, you know. That's like the. That's like, oh man, you
I wish
have
you knew,
no
like-
idea the amount of people I've heard tell me that they want to do that.
Yeah.
But then the other.
I was watching your podcast with Baby too, and you know,
Yeah.
I remember she was talking to me when she was going to make that decision to move over,
and then, you
yeah.
know, certain things fell upon her.
But the fact that her and Sammy are now building Smack, like it was almost like the universe has plans, but it just kind of works in mysterious ways, you know.
That's it,
Like
eh?
all props to her for stepping up. Like,
Yeah, you know, it's sometimes like you don't really expect it to come, but like, you know, there are some things that get thrown at you that, you know, you either have to let it go or you have to carry it. So
exactly.
it depends what you really want to do. But like about that, like, you know, there have been so many people that I have met who tell me this, and they say like, you know, man, I wish I could just quit my job and, like, you know, and leave and go to like wherever, Thailand, or, you know, whatever they want to do. And I'm like, why are you wishing? Like,
it's so hard though, because like I understand what you mean. Like, why are you wishing? Like, if you want to do something, do it. And like some people are so like so you know, such strong advocates for people. Like,
hey, you don't forget to subscribe, like, and share this video.
People out there who are such strong advocates for, if you want to do something, like, there are no excuses, but man, you have to at some point like be really you know, understanding to the fact that people have you know, such different backgrounds and lives, that things that they can't, and it's such a shame, you know. I've seen so many people who with such beautiful potential, but it's, man, like they've got kids, or I mean, don't get me wrong, kids are amazing, let's just say that kids are amazing. But it's just, yeah, they kind of...
Yeah, I understand what you meant, but like, there are some people who are in certain situations that I would understand, like, you know, it's way more harder. The friction that they have to make that change is a lot more harder. There's a lot more obstacles for them to go through. But like, when the people who I know... there's not a lot of friction for them, and they tell me that I wish, like, you know, I wish I could slap you right now. You know, you don't wanna leave your high-paying job,
the comfort of home.
Yeah, you don't want to leave your expensive car, or you don't want to leave the big house that you live in. You know, that comfort. You don't want to let go of that comfort. So if you are afraid of being uncomfortable to pursue something that you love or you want to do, then...
Well, obviously they don't love it enough to leave. You know, they obviously love the money more, you know, because that's essentially what it comes down to, you know, because if people say, I wish I could do this, then you're right. Like, you would just do it. You know, if you really, truly, passionately love something, you would do it. Like, but obviously whatever's tying them, if it's something that is, you know, material, money, possessions, because that's kind of what we're talking about, right? Like the things that they could be fine, but they choose not to. And so obviously they're lying, you know, so they love the money more. They just don't want to say it.
They're not, maybe they're not lying, but they're just, you know, covering up,
Yeah.
making you basically your mind just when you just start to make a lot of excuses and you put a lot of reasons and
Of
like
course.
you
Yeah.
know it's like self-inflicted stuff. It's not actually like what you said. Like I feel like in this, I mean, if we're talking about like 50, 60 years ago, might have been a bit more harder.
Oh, yeah, 100%. Yeah.
But you think about it, like even then or even before that, like people still made a lot of
Sacrifices.
sacrifices or like even big changes. Like so, if they can do it at a time where it was way more harder, like we shouldn't really be complaining.
Yeah, man.
You
I
know.
agree. Yeah.
So yeah, jumping on that plane and first destination
Thailand.
Thailand. Ooh. So how was that? Where did you go? Whereabouts in Thailand did you?
So I was based in Phuket. I was signed to Phuket Top Team. I had been talking with a couple of the trainers there about being part of the gym and fighting out of there. Just purely because I mean, I kind of had links there, and I'd been to Thailand quite a few times before that, and mostly for like my Muay Thai camps. So trained out of Sinbi Muay Thai. Kind of checked out other gyms like the high profile gyms like Tiger. You know, but obviously I was going over there because I had this kind of push for MMA, and so yeah, so I was signed to Phuket Top Team, but I really don't want to say something that's gonna like sound bad, but it just didn't vibe with me, uh love the trainers there, but there was just something about it. I couldn't put my finger on it. It was just something that my energy didn't connect with, and I really struggled, and honestly I really struggled, and so I ended up
Yeah,
going back to Simbi, and I was just doing stand up because I was so like against going to Phuket Top Team.
it's interesting you mentioned about this because the podcast that I just released like today with Alexis Pritchard, we actually talked about this exact same thing that we're talking about. There are the and I think I don't want to misquote, but I think what she said was um, the best coach or gym in the world might not be the best coach for you. And like
Yeah.
and that's the thing, like yeah, there are certain gyms that it's like it's really good, has a good name and has good coaches and all that, but sometimes when you enter a space, like you might not feel it. Try for a while, if it still doesn't come to you, like it just doesn't, eh?
Yeah, man. And it's just like that's the stuff that doesn't lie to you, the energy, the feeling that you get like when you walk into a space. Like you can try to talk about it and you can look at all these fancy posters all you like, but if it doesn't vibe with you, like and for me, like this was very hard because obviously I just left home. I was part of a gym that I didn't want to be a part of, and then all this pressure about what was I going to do because I couldn't make money just doing Muay Thai, like, and so and plus like my passion obviously was with MMA, and so I was in this like crisis, like basically like 1 month after I'd left home I was already thinking about coming home because I was really like confused. I was not happy mentally. Like it was just I was so good, and I felt so much pressure because I'm like, oh god, I'm gonna have to go home. Like everyone already said goodbye to me, and I'm gonna be home in like a month, and I'm gonna feel like this big disappointment. And so I was really, really struggling in those moments. Like, I love Thailand, don't get me wrong, like beautiful food, and love Muay Thai. But yeah, it was hard. And making the decision to move to Thailand was like just difficult. Everything was difficult. Sorting the visas, you know, um, living and
And
figuring out what
you
my
you
future
went
was going to
you
be.
went alone.
No, so I
Oh,
moved
okay.
with my partner at the time,
I
and
see.
so yeah, so I was lucky enough that I wasn't completely by myself. So but yeah, so we were kind of both really in a place where we were struggling. We were trying to figure out what happened, what we were going to do, and this was at the end of 2017, I believe, and then like of all things, like we got this massive opportunity with Bali MMA, and then
Wow.
yeah, someone called my partner. They were looking for a striking coach, and so yeah, that's kind of how the cross
Wow. So
happened.
like at that period where you guys were going through that and
Yeah,
then something just comes.
yeah, yeah.
Talking about how the
And
universe
we
has
just,
strange ways of
oh man, like
working out.
if you talk like anyone that talks to me about the universe, I'm a full firm believer in the inner workings of the universe. Like if you put yourself in a position where you are like free for the universe to move you, like it will work absolute wonders. And even just being home, like I feel it. Like, yeah, so yeah, it's just everything just kind of happened at the right time, and the timing was perfect, and the opportunity was amazing. And didn't Bali never came into our minds. It was never, I'd never considered Bali. The only thing I knew about Bali was Tiffany Van Soos was there, and I was like, she was my favorite fighter at the time.
Yeah.
Like still is, but now she's basically my sister.
You've
like,
never been there before that actual.
No,
Wow.
never knew about Bali. Never knew they had a gym. Oh, like I knew they had a gym,
Yeah,
but it was like
you didn't know that was
yeah
a thing there.
Yeah, I knew. So Ev Ting was the one that actually, because he'd done a few camps like for MMA. He was signed to one championship at the time, and he was the one that linked us in. And so, man, yeah, thank that guy. If you ever see him around,
Yeah.
Ev Ting.
Yeah, shout out to
Yeah,
And John was saying about Ev as well.
Yeah. Oh yeah, I lived with John for a long time too.
Yeah, that's
Over in
another
Bali.
story altogether. But yeah, and so then you guys just jumped on a plane and made the second move to Bali.
Yeah.
And so how was that experience over there?
Oh, it was awesome, man. Like, kind of like what I was talking about the gyms and the energy and how you feel. Like the second we landed in Bali, it was like this complete contrast to how we were in Thailand. And you know, it was like it was hard because I have so much love for Thailand. I was like forcing myself to love it and forcing myself to make things work. But when we moved to Bali, it was this breath of fresh air, and we just relaxed. And
there's just something about Bali.
Oh man!
From when you get down at, you come out of the airport, the Denpasar airport.
You see the beautiful
Is that the new airport?
No, I think it's the same one, but they might have done it up since you were there. But Nurarai.
Yeah. I think they went through a renovation at some point. But yeah, like I think you might have probably seen like after it was renovated.
I think maybe.
I went to like the old one, which was a little bit more
local.
But it was still awesome. Don't get me wrong. But the new one's like more, when you step out, you're like, wow.
It's beautiful.
It is, eh?
Yeah, it's a beautiful way to enter. It's such a like stark contrast to Thailand. Like you think that in Asia, like because they're so close together, that they would kind of be the same. Or like I didn't know what to expect. I didn't know anything about Bali. And so
which is strange because like a lot of people from Australia and New Zealand should go to Bali.
More Australia because
it's closer,
cause trouble, but and I didn't know what to expect, and so it was an amazing culture of Bali. And it hits you as soon as you get off the plane. Like
they have like that's the thing as well. Like Bali, they have a very rich culture. Culture and religion. We'll put it like separately, but like the Hindus, they're very,
the gods are very much celebrated.
You see it almost everywhere. And interesting one is they have the day of silence.
Yes, Nyepi. Oh god.
Yeah, so that's like pretty interesting.
How is Nyepi?
I was in Bali. And
you got to explain what Nyepi is.
Yeah, so basically it's like a day where you're not allowed to like go out and make noise. So
they call it the day of silence.
Silence, which also means that you're not allowed to like. Well, you could, but like even like not, driving or
no, you're not allowed. So
noise, like even like driving and like riding a bike, going out on the streets, and like it's quite restricted. Like
no, so that must have changed a lot since because we're not even allowed to leave the house.
Really?
No, like there's police on the street.
Oh,
yeah, there's police on the street that like guard the street and. You are literally not allowed to leave your home. You're not allowed to have any electronic devices on for 24 hours.
They might have got a little bit more stricter, but I remember because
I blame the Australians.
Because a good mate of mine, he's Balinese, and so he actually told me the day before, he's like, "Hey, bro, tomorrow's Nyepi, and like like you're not really supposed to go out and make noise or this, that, whatnot." And I was like, "Oh yeah, so I'll keep that in mind. I'll try not to make so much noise." But I was like, but I think that day was like kind of because we just chilled at home and just, like, we just did stuff and like we ate or whatever. I think we didn't really go out anyway, but I think I went out like to the shops, but the shop might have been closed. I think
it's crazy to me that you even said you went out of your house on Nyepi.
I was like,
I had a funny story. Like the first Nyepi that I celebrated, we were in some some house that was like a little bit far out of the gym. You know what it's like when you move to a new place and you're kind of in this like little bit like I don't want to say run down, but it was like, we were kind of like living a little bit rough, and so we didn't have aircon or anything, and so our first nippy. Our first nippy, I was on a weight cut. I was like cutting weight for a fight,
yeah.
and so I went out the day before, and I was like trying to get all these healthy snacks. Like, yeah, I'm gonna kill this nippy. I'm gonna spend 24 hours inside and eat my healthy snacks. Bro, those snacks were gone in like an hour. The first hour, I woke up for breakfast and I was like, oh my God, what am I gonna do for the next 23 hours? And like
Oh wow.
the people that were living in the house at the time, I think John might have been living with us then. They were all not on weight cuts. They were out there eating noodles and me and chocolate, and I was like, oh. Basically starved myself on nippy. It was horrible.
And like that's the thing, like food as well, like that ayam penyet, that that nasi campur, and
dude,
that,
I'm like in the sweet section, like martabak, roti bakar.
There's just so
Pisang
much. And
goreng.
you know what's the best part is like you can get food like almost any time of the day. Like they have places like go on till like 3-4 a.m. and I was like,
yeah, man. Yeah.
You never really go hungry. You just gotta go out and get some food.
Yeah. You might put on a couple hundred kilos, but
But strangely, I think, I don't know, it might be the weather. Like you sweat a lot, you burn a lot, so like you eat a lot, but you burn a lot as well. So like kind of works out. So yeah, and so when you guys got there and you went over to Bali MMA, which is in Canggu, right? So, and how was that? How's like the whole experience at like Bali MMA? Just like in terms of like training, the life there, the people there, and stuff like that.
Yeah, I mean, oh man, we were so very lucky. Like we kind of came in, and the gym's an amazing place. It's changed so much since we got there, and so the scope of like their reach and their reputation, like it's grown so much, and like all credit to those guys, like the owners, Donnie and Anthony and Andrew Leone, like those guys have just done so, and Steve, who's also part owner, he's the main owner, and he's based in Jakarta, but man, those guys have just done such an amazing job to create an environment where they were collecting fighters from all around the world, and we all built this little family. And it's very rare that you can kind of fit into a space like that, especially a little Kiwi girl from a girl from New Zealand. I'm not sure how many, like if they'd come across a lot of Kiwis by the time we got there. Like they knew Ev, and they kind of had their odd Kiwi.
There's a few, but like
but they love us now. Like they're playing 660 in our trainings. They're like playing all this Kiwi music, and we're teaching them our language, like our lingo,
all the slangs,
They call each other like bro, and so it's cool, man. Like I can't explain it. You can never really explain anything like that. But I was so very lucky, like the training. So obviously, look, when you move to a place like that and your life is training, like we were training every day except Sunday, 2 to 3 times a day. We'd fit in some runs. The training was so very dynamic. So we'd have our stand-up training, jiu-jitsu, wrestling. We were coached by, the top guys in the game, like the Leones have such an amazing reputation with jiu-jitsu.
They have like
Anthony
a good
and
structure
Andrew.
going on.
Yeah. And Donnie obviously has a huge American wrestling background. And obviously my partner was teaching the striking. And so now I think like just the dynamic there is like it's a massive family. It was awesome.
When you got there, were there a lot of other fighters like there, or was it like slowly growing?
It was still slowly growing, but when I got there, the caliber of the fighters there were so strong. You got Ayman, Muhammad Ayman, who fights for one championship. You've got Tiffany obviously wasn't there at the time, but she was kind of floating around. You got the Subas, Gianni and Keanu Suba. So these are the guys that are kind of the fabric of the gym and kind of helped bring up
built that place up.
And so when people say like quantity over quality, like that was what I walked in on. I walked into sparring and training with some of the guys that are competing at the highest level for long periods of time. And so that's kind of what we started with, and then eventually it exploded. And so we got people from all around the world.
And also that the Indonesian culture, that family culture is very strong as well. So like you just instantly feel welcome and like it's very easy to have connections with the people there.
Yeah.
I don't
Yeah,
know
it
how
is.
any like I've been to
Was the
my
gym there when you were there?
I think the first maybe not, but then after a while,
'Cause I can't
yeah,
remember what year it started.
because like I think I first went to Bali like 12 years ago, so probably
Dirt roads.
yeah,
That was
probably.
probably when Canggu was quiet.
Yo, I think that was like
Yeah.
there was not
I
really
don't know
anything
anything about those days.
at Canggu at that time,
Yeah.
and then I think it slowly developed, and then like the people, well, my mate, who he's Balinese obviously, so he knows the place way better than I do, and he was telling me like when the place was started to grow and more people were coming there, and like they had that shortcut road back then,
Oh God.
and like
Nightmare. God,
man,
that
I
damn
love
shortcut,
I
I
love
swear.
the that Bali traffic because I like I like to ride on the scooter and just like
Yeah.
squeeze around everywhere.
I
It's
miss
like
my scooter.
it's like dangerous riding.
Yeah.
Well, I won't use the word reckless, but like
Oh, it
different
is.
people have different views on how I
Yeah.
ride a bike, so I let them judge for themselves. But I just enjoy the whole thing.
Yeah.
It was like I'll put it this way, like you won't fall asleep riding a bike there. Or how I was riding.
Yeah.
Anyway, so yeah, and then he kind of told me like that place was growing. There was more people moving there, more places started opening up, and then the
Yes.
local businesses started to move. All the boutique shops started coming, and then they use set up their place as well, which is
Yes.
pretty cool. Yeah, and then I heard of Bali MMA, and
Mm.
then it slowly started to grow. More people were talking about it.
Yeah.
And then I think my mate actually he went to train there for a while. Yeah, and then like but he was like still into his surfing, and he was kind of like he was like doing tour guide stuff and all that. Because I think that guy, he probably knows half of Australia and New Zealand and like
Oh,
the rest of the world.
that's the thing, dude. Like, dude, the Balinese and the locals, like, they were so good with just like with hosting people from Kiwi. Why do I always say Kiwi? Hosting people from New Zealand and Australia, and so they were just such beautiful hosts. They remember your name.
Definitely,
They
yeah.
make an effort to understand your culture. They all know really good English for locals, because it's kind of like something that they're forced to do, not forced, but that they have to in order to survive and get to customers, and so we came across some
Sorry,
amazing
just to
people.
interrupt you. We were talking about the fireworks just now, and the fireworks just started popping off.
Oh,
Did you hear that in the background?
I did, yeah. I wonder what that was, yeah.
Sorry to interrupt you.
Sorry.
Yeah,
Oh
sorry.
God, I gotta stop laughing. Okay,
Yep.
yeah. So yeah, the locals there are just they're such beautiful people, and it was really hard when I left, just seeing the nature of how it kind of was falling a little bit. I think they're getting back on their feet now, but obviously with Bali being such a tourist driven destination, man, it's just seeing the fabric of their like culture and their structure, like societal structure, just like fall to pieces. There were hundreds of completely empty, like massive hotels that were just gathering dust at times, and like you'd walk through the middle of like some of the most popular tourist areas like Seminyak and Kuta in the middle of the road, no one around. And so,
which is like a rare sight,
yeah,
like I really when at that time when I first went, obviously every tourist would go to Kuta, Legian,
yes,
and then you start off there, and then you slowly upgrade. You move to Seminyak now, you get a little bit, you get a little bit higher on the scale, you move to Seminyak, and then like after a while more, like you play Seminyak, Jimbaran, and Canggu. Like those were the spots that you'd go,
And now you have the spiritual awakening, and you'll go to Ubud and have a spiritual awakening in Ubud. Like that's the
well, I didn't get there.
No, you don't. No, you don't.
I didn't get to that stage,
Yeah,
but
no.
like I know what you're talking about. I've experienced like a bit of time there. Lived there for a while, and like
Gets pretty crazy, man. Gets pretty crazy.
I have like, man, my experience in Bali is crazy. Let's not even go there, but like too much, way too long, and that would be like one podcast is not enough to cover that story there. But anyway, I have like it's just a lot of memories and a lot of time, and you see like the kind of growth, not only of the place but like the growth of myself while I spent that period of years, like going back and forth. And but it was cool, you know, seeing how it developed. But yeah, talking about what we've recently gone through in this year, and yeah, talking about the whole just in the whole country, or yeah, Bali, you know, just crash because of this whole pandemic.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
And it's
it's
like, it's kind of like, it's you don't really see like the impact until you start to really see people struggling to eat, and you see locals, like, you know, fading away, and people, you know, it was really, really awesome to see foreigners really try their best to run food drives and drop local food to families, and there was really this kind of like community coming together feeling, which I loved. But you still see some such horrible conditions, and so yeah, yeah,
yeah,
it's
it's
tough.
stuff like thinking about it, like it really, you know, it makes you a bit sad as well, like because you've built so many connections with like these places and the people, and like, you know, that's the thing, like, you know, we talk about like a lot of the street food and stuff like that, like they not charging, you know, a lot for
No.
for the food,
Yeah.
and you be thinking like how much they actually make in a
Yeah.
day. And now where they put in a period where there's just long periods of like
No work.
no work, no tourists, no business, and like how long can they last with what they saved, you know, if they don't
Exactly.
have a lot to
Mm.
go off in the first place. So it's pretty sad. Yeah, I actually catched up with a mate of mine who was there, and like it was rough.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
I've known him for a while,
Mm.
and you know, he's always been like a very happy and like easygoing
Yeah.
guy. And like
Yeah.
the state of how he was when I was talking to him, like it really made me quite sad, because that guy, um, yeah, he did a lot for me. You know, like just like spend time with me, and like, you know, the connection that we have. Um, yeah, and to look at him in that state, like
It's horrible, hey.
it's hard, you know,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
like,
Because you want to really help these people because they
but
give so much. You know,
yeah,
but it's
you
like,
know, and but hey, you don't forget to subscribe, like, and share this video. It was hard to look at that because, you know, I just didn't see that, you know, like nobody saw this coming, but like, you know, it was just difficult.
yeah, that's when you see like the reality, hey, when it smacks you in the face.
Yeah,
And
as much as you want to help, but like how much can
of
you, you
course,
know? But
yeah.
well, I mean, not discouraging anyone to not help, but like help as much as you can,
Of
you
course,
know.
but you got to look after yourself too. You know?
Definitely.
Like put that mask on yourself first before you help somebody else. No, but
Yeah.
I'm saying that even now, like I mean, Bali's kind of in a position where foreigners are starting to come back, and they're kind of like through loopholes and social visas, they're able to get back in the country. So I think now, like, it's starting to pick up, and at the gym I've seen on you know, social media that it's really starting to pick up again, and so it's nice to see. You know?
But still, like the numbers are nowhere close to what it was, you know,
No.
like because everybody doesn't really want to travel right now. So there's no quarantine or whatever like going in there.
Not that I'm aware of,
Oh,
but I
okay.
don't quote me on that.
So that yeah, but like, you know, obviously there will be some restrictions to entry, and
Yeah, obviously, like, I mean, even when I
as
left, you
anyway.
have to take tests, and
Wow.
we're leaving the country. I wasn't allowed to get on the plane unless I could provide a valid test within 3 days or whatever it was. And so, I'm assuming that when you come in, like, you obviously have to have a valid
Do all that
test.
as
Yeah,
well.
yeah.
So talking about training Bali MMA, so that was your first nah, that was not your first MMA fight, was it? From
No, so my first professional MMA fight was actually here in Auckland. It was on the New Zealand
okay.
versus China show,
Oh,
and so
okay.
that was my
Oh yeah, I heard someone was telling me about that show recently as well.
really, yeah,
Yeah, I
yeah,
can't
yeah,
remember
yeah.
who, but
That was
yeah.
actually probably like one of my, I've got a story, like, okay, so that fight, basically like 2 weeks out, I was like training for the fight, and something happened. I was in training, had an accident, went and got checked, doctor said it was fine, so I was like, hey, I'm a little bit injured. Right up until the day I fought, it was giving me trouble, and so like I couldn't really kick. I knew I wasn't going to be able to kick.
Oh.
And so out the back, I thought I was like, I was really amped up, and for some reason I jumped on my coach's back, and it basically like twitched again, like my knee, and so I was like, oh god, and I tried so hard to hide it. I didn't let anyone know that it was like it had happened. And so anyway, when the fight, tried to kick, couldn't kick, realized that I had to kind of like figure out other ways to finish this. And so I was lucky enough to finish it in the second round with a rear naked choke. She was a tough fighter.
Wow.
But when I got it checked, when I got my leg checked after the fight, and they told me that I had torn my ACL and my PCL and my LCL.
Oh my goodness, how many is that? That's like 3 all in one go. What the heck?
And I'd done that. That was what I had done 2 weeks before. So I was training with these injuries. I didn't realize because they struggled to diagnose it properly because it never swelled. And so basically I got told that after the fight, like the day after, because I was like, something's wrong with my knee. And then broke down in tears, had to have surgery like the following week. And then I was out for 6 months.
Shoot.
Yeah.
Wow.
So that was,
That's
I fought my first
rough
fight with a torn ACL.
That's a rough. So you didn't, but that's the worst part. You didn't actually suffer these injuries like from the fight.
No, it was from training.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah,
wow.
That's what happens.
6 months you were out right after that. That's a wee while.
Yeah, I was actually quite lucky to return quite quick. Like that's quite quick because I think I basically had a fight in Thailand like 6.5 months after my surgery.
Oh, okay.
And yeah, that was me really being resilient with my rehab and my training, and I just happened to be in Thailand at the time when I was like really starting to like I can't think feel good, and then it might have been when I moved. And then I took that fight and I was like, oh, sweet, let's go.
Oh, I think I think I got so you actually went on one Warrior series from when you were in Bali MMA.
Yes.
Is that correct?
Yes.
Yeah. So I got that. So that wasn't the first MMA. So how many fights did you have before you got on that one Warrior series?
So that was the one professional fight here, and then before that, I think I maybe had like 2 or 3 MMA fights before that, and just amateur.
Amateur MMA,
amateur level. Fighting on Lethal Ladies and what's the other? Like some other I forget what it's called. Princess of Pain.
Oh,
that's
okay,
what it was called.
Yeah.
Lethal Ladies and Princess of Pain.
I was gonna say because I heard someone mentioned that event before.
Yeah.
All ladies event, which is pretty good.
Oh,
you know?
I love it.
It's awesome. I think it's pretty awesome. Like pushing, it's going towards the right direction. Obviously, you know.
Yeah.
Yeah, and so how did you come about getting on that one Warrior series?
So I'd just moved to Bali. I had only maybe been in Bali for a couple of months, and someone actually came up to me and was like, hey, yo, there's this like really cool opportunity. Rich Franklin is running this amazing series where he's looking for fighters around Asia. And I was like, this is awesome because I'm very lucky that one championship and one Warrior series offer, the 52 kilo division hydrated. And so that's like perfect for me. And so I was really excited. They put it across to me. My coaches bloody put together my application form for me, like answered all my questions. And so before I knew it, I was off to Jakarta. I had to travel to Jakarta for the trial. And I was the only girl there. So I had to do my trial against all these dudes that were like, obviously they were trying to get contracts too. And so they were like going super hard on me. And, but I was really lucky to get the contract there.
So what do you have to do for this trial? Like,
so you basically turn up and it's like, the cameras all there and they're trying to document, your story and what you can bring. And there's obviously like you warm up and they watch your pads. And I was lucky to have one of my coaches, Anthony Leone, with me, holding pads to me, and you kind of showcase your skills. And then they put you in this like Shark Tank kind of situation where you're in the middle, you start in a position of jiu-jitsu or something, and then you're forced to kind of work out of it. And I didn't do too well in that section. But obviously like he'd seen enough to kind of give me an opportunity.
I'm a little bit confused. They put you in a like a Shark Tank position. They put you in like a jiu-jitsu environment. Yeah. So who's the one who's actually like rolling with you there?
So like one of the other guys that's like, so there was maybe like, I think there was maybe 8 or 9 of us, like, and I was like the only girl, and then there was like all these guys that are kind of like trying to get the contract, and so we'd be pitted against each other, and so I got
goodness, what?
no, it was okay. That's kind of the environment that you thrive in,
But it's a bit unfair. There's like not really like, there's no level playing field.
Nah, man. I mean, it's when you're a woman and you're coming up through the like gyms and stuff, and you're at a professional level,
You're pretty used to it anyway.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's normal. Yeah, it's
Okay.
like another training session. Yeah.
So you went through that trial and you sort of got the contract.
Yeah.
And how did they go about after that? Like, was like that fight like right after that, or
No,
like?
I think I can't remember how long it was. It wouldn't have been long, but so my first fight on the contract was up against it was in season 1, it was up against a Japanese girl, I believe. And I forget her name, but yeah, I think that one was unanimous. So I won that one. And then my second fight was against a girl from India, Anita Karim. And that was maybe, I can't remember how long after, but they were maybe a couple of months apart at the time. And then
So they pretty much kept you quite busy.
yeah.
Well, the other
busy-ish, yeah.
Yeah. The other one that I wanted to talk about, like which was what you mentioned earlier, being the weight category, 52 kg, hydrated, which is pretty interesting because One Championship is the
only promotion that do
the
that.
only promotion that actually do fighting at like close to your natural weight.
Yeah.
Okay, I don't want to butcher the details of that exactly, but could you, for the people who are listening, watching, could you tell us a little bit about like what that actually means, like being hydrated and fighting?
Yeah, so basically, I mean, so when you are preparing for a fight, usually all you have to do is kind of make weight, whatever way possible. You can dehydrate your body. You know, obviously you want to try and do that as safe and as healthily as you can for your body, because you're obviously going to be performing in like 24 hours. But with One Championship, not only you have to make the weight, but you also part of the process is you pee in a cup, and they use like lipid tests, I think, to test the hydration of your urine. And if you fail one, you fail the whole thing. And so you can't fight until you pass the weight and you pass the hydration at the same time. You can't like make weight and then like 2 hours later pass hydration. You have to do it at the same time. And so that's what messes a lot of people up, because if they're cutting weight, a lot of the time people are still struggling to make weight, so they'll water
Fail the
cut.
hydration.
They'll water cut and they'll fail the hydration. And so I've never ever failed any weight cut or any hydration test in my entire life, and I'm super proud of that. Because for me, like, I'm small enough as it is. Like, if I eat well and I train hard, like, I naturally get down to that weight anyway. And so weight's never been an issue for me. But yeah, it's interesting to see, man, because I've seen,
That's pretty tough, because you know how people would try to they want to try to get an advantage. And like one doesn't really allow that with that system that they have in place, which is really cool. Well, everybody has their thoughts and ideas on it, but like I think weight cuts are like quite dangerous, you know, like especially for
if they're not done right. They can do a safe weight cut.
There are safe weight cuts, but when we talk about like people who don't have like a professional or someone who knows what they're doing, and they can do sort of the dodgy stuff, and like,
dude, because the promotion that I'm fighting on, dude, these guys are like backstreet, kids that, are just looking for that opportunity. A lot of Rich Franklin picked some of these guys out from like, the back streets of like these villages in Asia. And it's like, it's awesome that they're getting these opportunities, but they come onto the stage in this environment, like not knowing a thing about making weight and eating right and fueling their bodies. Like, they don't know. And so
that's just the reality of it.
Yeah, it is the reality of it. Yeah.
But I think like, while there has been a lot of support for like the system they're running, and people are trying to push that for their other promotions, but it's hard. It is hard, if they kind of move towards that direction, like there's going to be a lot of people, a lot of fighters who are going to be affected. So
of course, yeah.
I don't know if other organizations will put it, well, I guess we'll see. So I interrupted you halfway there. Before I cut you in that, you were talking about the second fight.
Oh yeah. So Anita Karim. And so these are fights that are really good for me, because I'm getting the fights that I need, that where finally people aren't pulling out, and finally they're at at a level where they are just as keen to fight as I am. And
Would you
so,
say it's like a bigger promotion, more
yeah,
money, more
well,
serious,
yeah,
or
I
like?
don't know if it's big more money. It's
Yeah.
definitely not more money. But but it's yeah, I think it's because it's the stage that it's on maybe,
Mm.
and but yeah, so
People realize the opportunities that come
yeah,
after that.
yeah, that's true because we are fighting for a $100,000 or a $1 million contract, you know, like to step into one championship. If you are
Ooh.
selected, you basically jump from that promotion into a contract that's, you know, puts you in a really good kind of start.
Definitely.
It's not easy.
So people don't screw it up.
Yeah, it's not easy, but
Mm.
it's a massive when you see those kinds of figures, like for someone that's obviously, like I said, like coming from nothing, like you see those numbers, you're like, I gotta win this, you know? And
That's
so
an extra motivation
yeah,
there.
yeah. So I mean, it finally gave me the platform that I need to learn and grow, but I was coming up against girls that come from backgrounds where they've had a lot of, you know, opportunity in their own hometowns. In Japan, there's a strong MMA culture, and you know, around Asia and the Philippines, and you know, yeah. So
So you had a few fights on the One Warrior series,
yes, yeah.
but you eventually fought at one championship as well.
Yeah.
Oh,
Oh, that
okay.
whole opportunity was like that came out of nowhere. Because I was getting ready for another fight on One Warrior series. I can't remember what for, but I was out at dinner and I was with yeah, my partner at the time, who basically got a message saying, "Yo, One Championship are like desperate to find someone. They've put Nyrene's name up," and he was sitting across from me, and I was like, I just didn't know how to react. I was like, "You're joking? Like, no way!" Because this is like when I left New Zealand, this was my goal. You know, I wanted to
Wow.
be on that stage, and I was. I was at some like Thai, like some like local Thai place, like eating dinner, and he told me, and I was like, I was just in shock. I was in shock. I was so happy. And they were like, "Do you want it?" I'm like, "Is that even a question? Like, I'm
Yeah.
not in any position to turn this down, and do not want to." And so the only thing was, it was a last minute fight, you know. So I took it on
Ooh,
2 weeks' notice.
2 weeks.
But I was lucky enough to kind of already be in somewhat of a fight camp because I was kind of preparing for something else. So yeah, man, like, and I talk about this a lot, but when you're given opportunities like this, like I said, when you put yourself in a position where opportunities are gonna or could potentially happen,
At any
you've
time.
got to take that opportunity, and you just got to do the best that you can with that opportunity, you know. And that's all I kept telling myself through the camp. It was quite chaotic, and there was a lot of pressure, and I felt, you know, really kind of like doubtful at times. And I go through these kind of like,
Mm.
everyone knows what fight camps are like, you know, they're like these massive emotional roller coasters. But in 2 weeks, it was kind of like this, this like,
It was like a
yeah,
big
constant,
boom.
yeah. And I was really, to be honest, like having that kind of an opportunity allowed me to kind of feel the emotions of what, you know, fighting on that kind of a stage is like. And I love it. I love it. I learned so much from that fight. And I actually, that was the fight that got me really strongly into like meditation and mindfulness and visualization and understanding the power of the mind. Like, yeah, I learned this all in 2 weeks.
Wow.
But just that constant learning afterwards, like it was amazing. And so even now I'm such a strong advocate for meditation and mindfulness and finding some peace, you know, because right up until that point, you know, we get bred in this kind of environment that's still heavily quite masculine, and all you know is just like throw your body against the wall, train until you cry, you know, like
Or puke.
yeah, or puke, which is kind of, you know, you're kind of doing like both at the same time
Yeah.
sometimes. And so to have this kind of like new study or like new research around just learning how to breathe properly. Man, I'm working with this new guy, Dave Wood, who runs Woody's
Woody
Woodshop.
movement, yeah.
Yeah, and he's just teaching me like all this stuff about breathing, like nasal breathing and sleeping, which I do not do well. But just to sit back, like come home and think that if I had known this kind of information before I had the biggest opportunity of my life, you know, then
It
I
would
could have
have made a lot
capitalized
of
a little bit
yeah.
better. But it's okay, you know, like I'm kind of in a point where I have to take that and move on.
As
And
we said,
yeah,
it's a learning process, hey,
yeah,
you know,
yeah,
and
yeah,
yeah, you're always trying to find ways to improve. Like
of course, yeah, yeah.
even if it's not like a big chunk, it's
Mm,
a step towards a better you. So,
mm,
you know. Um. So you got on. So you got on one championship,
Yeah.
and then how did it go from there?
So gosh, I mean that's basically when the world shut down. So
Oh, so that
that
was that
was in February.
this year, just
Yeah, or
before
like January,
the.
February. Yeah, and so so it was actually quite funny. Like, I've told a couple of people this, and I'm almost like 100% certain that I don't want to know if I want to say this on camera, but I'm basically sure I had the virus, like, in fight camp, because I was just like, well, yeah, I don't know. I was just like coughing and like
Ooh,
I was like I never like kind of had these kind of but
flu.
I wasn't well, you know, but
Yeah,
like when you're kind of leading up to a fight, you're not well anyway, you know, body's drained
yeah.
of energy
Mm-hmm.
and what it needs to function. And so like I was like coughing, and then this was before everything blew up and we started learning about it. And so even when I was coming home, people were starting to wear masks. I was like, what are they wearing masks for? And what is this? And then yeah, and then that's basically when the world kind of shut down.
Down.
Yeah, yeah,
Wow,
yeah,
that's pretty crazy.
yeah, yeah,
That's pretty crazy.
yeah.
So the one warrior series, the one championship, um, was that like a which would you say that was like the biggest event that you fought at? Where was the like the biggest event you fought at? Was it in
It was
Jakarta
yeah, it
or?
was in Jakarta. Was that one. So the One Warrior series are
Mm,
all operating out of Singapore,
yeah.
and so that's their base. But with One Championship, it was yeah, in Jakarta. And so I was very lucky because I was based in Bali, so it was very close for them to for
Mm-hmm.
the matchmakers to kind of make that decision. So yeah, it was in Jakarta. My brother flew over from New Zealand and surprised me and turned up
Wow,
at the fight. I was just so surprised. And
that's awesome. Like
yeah, yeah,
it's a surprise as well to see,
yes,
fly all the way there. Wow.
yeah, yeah. It's an
Was
amazing
that a
experience,
huge
man.
crowd as well over there?
Yeah, from what I remember, like I mean, it was at Istora Stadium.
Wow, a
It's
stadium.
Istora Senayan.
Ooh.
Yeah, and so I was very lucky. Like that is the biggest crowd that I've ever fought in front of, and
What are the numbers like? What
I
it-
can't
what
really
are we
remember the exact numbers, but because when you walk out, everything is black, you know, and it's like
Yeah.
I didn't know what to expect. It's my first time
Mm,
being on that stage, so I'm like
mm.
I'm trying to calm myself down. There's like these graphics, all these lights all in your face, so you literally can't see anyone.
Yeah, it's like
Except
blinding.
yeah, it was an amazing experience. But I'm like in my head, I'm like, oh god, like this is happening, you know, like you can't turn back now, you
Yeah.
know, like
Let's put a number.
oh
Thousands?
gosh, oh yeah, easy thousands, yeah,
Wow.
yeah.
10? More?
Oh,
50?
I don't know. I don't want to like overshoot this.
Yeah.
I'm like, yeah, it was like 100,000 people. Yeah, easy.
50,000. Oh.
I can't remember, but yeah,
Oh.
it was a lot. Yeah.
From the local show in
Mm.
the rugby club
Yeah,
to
Otahu Rugby Club
to the
to
state.
little girl from Pakuranga up there on
Wow.
that stage. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. So
Did you feel that okay, this is the other one I want to ask. Like some people actually feel more nervous fighting like a small event show
mm,
compared to like a massive event.
mm, mm.
Do you think that was easier for you at that stage? Like a big stage like that or
It's actually that they're two very different, you know, because I mean, I used to perform and I used to sing a lot, and so
oh,
on stage, and so
we learned
uh,
something new today as well.
and I was very I used to love performing,
Mm,
but it's the same kind of thing, you know, like when you have intimate shows, it's like people that you know can see you for you, and like they can see every mistake that you well not mistake, but like it's so very intimate,
mm,
and it's incredibly nerve wracking, and so when you're in a big stage, it's almost like it all just kind of like I don't know blends into one, and the
mhm.
noise drowns you out, and you're able to focus a little bit more because like. And I was in the middle of Jakarta, like I don't even care who, like what these
Yeah.
people think of me. So
You don't know who they
yeah,
are and
exactly.
like
I'm never gonna see these people again in my life. So got, I would say, yeah, it's a different feeling because it's still very incredibly nerve wracking.
mm,
But yeah, I mean, yeah, smaller shows are kind of like, yeah, I
a
don't
bit
know.
more
They have their
pressure
yeah,
for the smaller
well,
shows.
yeah, I don't know. I mean, no, I'd still say that the the bigger pressure is on the bigger shows, but it's
Mm.
just yeah, you get a little bit more nervous for like smaller
Or would you
shows.
say it's like the people who are there, like
Yeah,
the people who
probably.
know you
Yes.
and the people who don't know you?
Yeah.
Pressure's
Yeah.
different on that one.
Of course. Yeah.
Mm.
Because you obviously want to, make these people proud. Like,
Definitely.
it gets a point where, like, you don't care what these strangers think of you,
Yeah.
like, who cares?
But yeah, I think we had a bit of a talk on that. And I think ideally, I mean, even if you go out to support a mate of yours or, whoever, like you'd still be proud of them anyway, regardless of the outcome. So like, but at the back of my mind, I know
Of
what you're
course,
talking about.
yeah,
There's that pressure there. It's like,
yeah,
oh man,
yeah,
your family's here, your friends
yeah,
are here.
of
You don't want to
course.
disappoint them.
Of course, yeah.
I get what you mean. Jakarta, man, it's a pretty awesome place as well.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's
It is-
busy, very busy.
It's so much traffic. I don't know.
It
yeah,
is. It
I love
is.
Jakarta for what it is, but yeah, I don't know if I could live there.
Yeah, I think like it's more like well, it is like Singapore,
It's like the poor Singapore, but
It-
this, yeah, it's
Yeah.
so. I think Singapore, at least you can breathe. Like Jakarta is like just teeming with
Packed,
chaos.
yeah.
Like, yeah, and
real busy
yeah,
over there.
yeah.
Actually,
yeah.
my experience in
No, actually, I take that back. It's not the poor Singapore because there's so much money in Jakarta. I take that back.
yeah,
I
like
back
as
it.
a whole, like yeah, obviously Singapore's as a whole will be richer, but like the income gap in
But Singapore's a country. Jakarta's like a city.
yeah, a state, yeah. But
I forget how massive Indonesia is. It's like
huge.
280 million people
It's
in
crazy.
Indonesia.
It's crazy. But like I think that the income gap there is pretty crazy as well. Like the rich in Jakarta and I have a few friends and like the rich, like they're filthy rich,
Yeah, you're right.
And then you see, the homeless and the poor, like
It's complete.
that's big.
It's the same in
compared
Thailand
to
as
Singapore,
well.
like there's not as much like homeless
Yeah.
people and all that. Like
I agree.
it's not as as bad as that. But
Yeah.
but then again, Jakarta's huge, so it's quite hard to say. Yeah, like talking about traffic there, it's crazy. Like
You'll be in traffic for like 2 hours. Like
nuts.
easy.
Yeah, I think my experience there was I actually had to go there because I lost my passport. But anyway, so I had to make a trip down to Jakarta, and where all the embassies and all that are, those places are it just makes it worse. Traffic there is nuts, and like macet is like a word that you'd hear almost like every day. Like everybody's saying like it's jam. For macet actually.
Macet.
Yeah, it means jam.
You speak a little Bahasa?
A little bit, like because I speak Malay.
Malay
so,
Bahasa. Yeah.
Hey you, don't forget to subscribe, like, and share this video. I mean, Malay and Bahasa is
Very similar.
Very similar, but there are a few things here and there that's like slightly different. But that's the thing, like when you spend enough time at a place, like it just starts to flow. And I mean, I wouldn't say, there are times, I think when I was like living in Bali, the people who thought that I was local was usually the tourists. Like the locals would know. Yeah, but like I think after a couple of years, like, being there, when you start to talk to them, like I think they start to realize that this guy probably lives here. They kind of know, and like I think like it's just like you after you live there for a while, you kind of know. You look at how someone dresses,
Of course, yeah.
how they move around,
Blend
what they
into the
do.
environment around you, yeah.
Like I was like,
I love learning Bahasa.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah,
It's
I
a
loved
very
it.
interesting language, and
I
so
wish
cool.
I learned more.
It's it just flows, What made you come back to New Zealand, or like?
Yeah, so I mean, with me, like it just got a little bit difficult, obviously, because with the world shutting down and me not being able to do what I wanted to do, like I wanted to fight, and obviously opportunities were just so few and far between with them, and there were a whole lot of other factors that kind of added to it, but. Man, the main thing was I missed my family back at home. I had planned to be at home before, but just with the way that things were kind of going, it never happened. The tickets were too expensive, and I wasn't in any position to kind of like fork out for tickets to get home, which were like $1.50 at the time.
Yeah, it was not cheap.
Return, but then funny story, when I actually made the decision to come, it was like 3 times the price, but I was like, ugh, I just got to do it. So I
At
just
that
missed
period,
my.
how long have you been away for?
So I was away in Bali for 3 years, but I came back one time after the first year.
Wow.
So I was away for two years completely, like away from my family and friends.
That's a wee while.
yeah, and I just started to really like and I really wanted to talk about this because it's so important and people do not talk about it enough. But my mental health started to really suffer, and I had to pull myself kind of out of these quite dark moments. And you know, like it had nothing to do with the people around me. You know, I was surrounded by like a lot of support from my friends, but it didn't help the fact that I was like really longing to come back home and see my friends and my family. And you know, like I knew what I needed. And yeah, I just kind of made the same kind of thing when I left. You know, I just made the decision and then just did it. And honestly, I can feel myself healing. You know, like being home. And yeah, these are the kind of moments that people don't realize because they don't expect fighters to be talking about, you know, talking a lot about
Sensitive
mental health
stuff.
and
Oh yeah.
vulnerable topics like this. But I really wanted to make a note and like, you know, it's okay. And I think there's more of an awareness about, you know, talking about these kinds of things, which is awesome.
Definitely.
You know, there's some really strong advocates out there that are you know, really pushing for strong messaging through prioritizing mental health. Like Richie Hardcore is doing some amazing things. And
Yeah,
so
I've seen quite a bit of his work, and
yeah,
that guy's doing some
yeah,
amazing
yeah,
stuff.
yeah, yeah,
Definitely.
yeah. So I think it's just really important to have people that are like advocating for, you know, your mental health and putting yourself first. And you know,
That's the other thing as well. Like to be able to be doing this sort of stuff, like most of the fighters would say, like we're pretty different, and the way that we think is a
oh, we're
little bit,
nuts.
yeah.
Yeah, you don't get into
You have
fighting
to
if you're
be
sane. You know.
in a certain framework, if you're doing this,
Yeah, of
sort of
course.
thing. So like, but still,
Yeah,
it should be mental health should really be
of course.
uh, one of the top things that you need to look at.
I agree. Yeah.
Um, so yeah, obviously the big one was like being away from your family, and you have like a very tight knit family,
Yeah,
or
I do. Yeah. So we all grew up quite close. And it's almost like because we spread out. So my parents live in Tauranga. They moved out of Auckland. They're in Tauranga, Papamoa Beach. My brother lives in Auckland. I was living in Bali. My sister lives in Florida, in Orlando, Florida. And so she's kind of, we're all spread out. And you know, it's almost like the further that we got away from each other, the closer we became. And we have a really tight knit family, and I love, you know, supporting everything that our family achieves. Unfortunately, I had to do it from afar for 2 years, but it's cool, man. Yeah, and we were a very tight family. Yeah, yeah.
So with would you say this move back here now, is it temporary, or do you reckon will be for a while, or is it permanent, or
Yeah. So basically, yeah, it's permanent. I'm just gonna, yeah. So as far as I know, and like coming back, like I knew that it was gonna be a long term kind of thing. So yeah, I'm back for a long time. I really have like so much that I want to do, and all these ideas that I have about kind of translating, you know, some of the learnings that I have, and really just like bringing it to New Zealand because I really just want to see more women in the sport. And so I have things that I really want to achieve. Obviously, I still want to fight too, but
definitely?
I just have to kind of pull that one back because I can't do that at the moment. So yeah,
Why
we'll
would you
figure that
say?
out.
Oh, well, not really. If you say you can't do it, like obviously now, I mean, from the period that you've been away,
Mm,
MMA has grew quite a bit
yeah,
here.
it'd be interesting.
The following has,
Yeah, yeah,
has definitely
yeah,
increased.
yeah.
The caliber,
Mm,
of the people
I
here,
agree. Yeah.
and like, you're training at City Kickboxing, which
Mm.
is the home of at the moment two,
Or just some guys, you
you
know,
know,
some people that are like pretty amazing.
yeah, and like not
And some
only male, we
coaches,
have
you know.
some incredible female fighters as well
Yeah, of
over here.
course. Yeah, I agree.
There's a few,
Yeah.
and yeah, I mean, I would say you'd still be able to
Mm,
compete, and I
yeah.
think maybe they put it this way, there might be more doors that
Mm,
would open for you
yeah,
from here.
yeah.
So
We'll see. We'll see.
yeah,
No, I mean, like, when I say I can't fight, like, internationally, I'm like obligated to be in the country until
yeah,
December with like the quarantine stuff.
yeah.
So I can't fight until next year. But
Mm,
yeah, I would love to try and fight nationally if, you know, the circumstances kind of come up.
mm,
I really want to focus on MMA.
mm,
I want to try to avoid switching between the two codes. I kind of want to give it the codes the respect it deserves. I don't want to be crossing between the two. You know, I would love to be able to, but I love MMA, and so I want to just perfect.
Focus on.
Yeah, I want to perfect my style with that.
Definitely.
Yeah.
I think like MMA it's a big commitment in itself, you know, like and
for sure.
when you get into that, you kind of want to focus.
Mm.
But sorry, just to backtrack a little bit, you were saying about your sister who's in Florida. So I actually just found out that your sister is a WWE wrestler, which is really wild.
She is the first. So she's the first female Kiwi wrestler signed to WWE.
Wow.
So yeah. So fun fact.
Wow.
She's amazing. And so and my brother's like he does
elder or younger sister?
So she's 1 year older than me.
Okay.
Exactly, like almost exactly, both in May.
Wow.
So both tourist babies.
Yeah.
But yeah, so she's been doing doing that for a long time. Time. Even I remember in school, like obviously it was like another thing that my parents kind of had to like get their heads around, because it was having, you know, my sister who kind of started, because she was doing this before I ever came across fighting. She paved the way and was kind of like found something she was so incredibly passionate about. She did the whole uni thing too.
Which was wrestling?
So wrestling. Yeah, so she loved wrestling.
Which is the American style wrestling.
Yeah, American style wrestling. So WWE, that like more like entertainment wrestling. But she did the whole thing. She graduated uni as a graphic designer, and she was working the same thing, full-time job. But she started to get these opportunities. So she was wrestling in Australia. Then she kept getting opportunities. She spent a bit of time in Japan.
Wow.
Yeah, and so that's actually one place I never got to, but I would love to make it to. And then from that, she was getting opportunities to kind of trial for WWE. And so, yeah, it's just been a journey for her. But she's just in a space now where
she's known by the name of
Dakota Kai.
Dakota Kai.
Yeah, Dakota Kai. Yeah.
Wow.
Follow her.
Yeah. Follow Dakota Kai, but it's not like she needs us anyway.
I know,
because
I
went to her page and I looked at it. I was like, "Yo, wow, she has like a massive following." You know, and it's incredible. Like,
and they're a different kind of breed. Wrestling fans in the States are a different breed of people. They're like another level crazy.
They're full on,
which is good for her.
Yeah,
you know, she has like amazing support with this, and for her, like, it's been amazing because now she's kind of branched out and she's on this Twitch channel when she's, you know, doing really well. She's a gamer. She's been a gamer,
and a gamer as well.
Yeah, and she's doing some amazing things. Like, she'll get on her Twitch channel and run fundraisers for charities on her Twitch channel and raises quite a bit of money. And so I'm so proud of her. Like, she's just doing amazing. And she was actually, I don't know if I've ever told her this, but she was kind of like what ignited that spark in me too. And it was obviously like our whole family kind of had this understanding, but if you find something that you love, like, there's a way that it can work, you know?
Yeah, one thing I wanted to ask, when she was doing all that, why didn't she did she try to rope you in and to get to do wrestling and all that?
Nah, we keep very separate. That's her thing, and this is mine. It's great to see like how far she's come, but like, it wasn't ever something that I knew I would
even like
ever be good at.
in the early stages of when she was doing it, did she not like, hey, you know, I'm doing this wrestling and, you know, it's really awesome, it's really cool, do you want to give it a try? Did she not?
Never. No.
She's like, nah, you stay away from me.
That was her and my brother. Her and my brother were the ones that kind of like would. My brother was actually the one that kind of got her into it, and so they would be like wrestling in our lounge, and I was always the one that was kind of like removed from that. I'd go off and do my own thing. I was a bit of like a loner child.
It's like a little bit of sibling rivalry and like,
there's never any rivalry, never. But it was just like this, this just seeing her do like her thing and where she is now. Like, she loves being in the States, and she's doing a thing.
Ooh, talking about the States, it's a pretty crazy place to be at right now.
Dude, do we have time for this? Do we have time for this?
Ooh, that can go on for quite a while. But
it's crazy.
Yeah, talking about the States, like my brother was actually there.
Yeah.
And his partner she's from there, and he I think they went end of last year. And then the whole pandemic happened and shit like that. So his experience there was quite rough.
Mm,
And yeah, so certain things happened, and he had to shoot back to Singapore for a while now. Yeah, so like he was telling me a little bit about it as well, and it was like, man, I was just listening to some of the stuff he was telling me, and I was like, man, it doesn't really seem like, in his situation, like doesn't really seem like the best place to be at right now.
Yeah, it's crazy.
With that chain of events that has been happening.
Yeah,
and
there
the
was
current,
there was a Black Lives Matter. Then what happened first? COVID, or maybe it happened simultaneously. But there was
I
COVID.
think
There's Black Lives Matter.
COVID
There was
first,
yes,
and then the George Floyd incident,
yes, right, yeah,
and then all the protests started coming
and
in.
the presidency and the election.
Oh, the election one is which is now, which
Yeah.
like we in it, and
Yeah.
like that's pretty wild.
Yeah,
I think it's pretty crazy.
I've honestly just been avoiding the out of that.
Yeah,
Like
and
I don't want to see that.
yeah, what I saw was like the funny one was like the Joe Rogan had a live stream,
Yeah.
and I was quite shocked at the title. It was like the end of the world part 2. I was like, yo, wait, what?
Yeah,
That's
the
quite
world's
a catchy.
already ended. What?
That's quite a catchy title to have for for like we're talking about a few million people who are gonna watch it, and like. And so crazy, like that's why I think you try to stay away from like the news and all that, because you have like stuff that's saying like they're gonna have like civil wars and shit like that. I was like,
Crazy.
yo, what the heck is going on? But
Media's out of control, eh? Did you watch The Social Dilemma?
no.
Oh my god, dude, watch The
Yeah.
Social Dilemma. It's on Netflix.
Netflix, yeah.
Everyone go watch The Social Dilemma.
Social Dilemma, yeah. What is that one about?
So it's basically kind of like a massive it's a documentary that it was one of the most popular documentaries on Netflix at one point, where it basically unearthed a whole bunch of like atrocities or like just really like a almost like a dark side or an underworld side of the social media and the media in general. And it kind of it's really interesting. Like it kind of just goes through and breaks down like the how this whole thing like exploded and how much control it has. And I mean, you see it now, like when everyone was forced to be inside with COVID, like just how how important our devices were for us. And just it kind of showed us how much control social media has. And you don't understand what is kind of happening with the level of brainwashing that is like happening without you realizing it, and the fact that it's rewiring an entire generation of people, of kids who are growing up with these in their lives. And it's like it's such smart brainwashing that you just do not even understand that your whole entire brain is being rewired, programmed and controlled. And it's like these little things.
Wait, I think I heard the podcast of the guy who did that
Yes,
series went on
Joe
Joe Rogan.
Rogan. Yeah, Joe Rogan just released it, so
Wow. Yeah.
it's super interesting. I really encourage you to watch it.
Yeah, definitely.
Kind of just blows your mind.
Well, funny story. I actually canceled my Netflix subscription.
Dude, congratulations! Congratulations.
Quite recently, because well, to be honest, I felt like when I had it, like you end up like spending a bit more time than you need to on it. And I felt like I didn't have a lot of time to start with. And then when whatever time that I had, when I was spending too much time watching, I was like, I need to cut it out. And like if you have the subscription, you're always gonna turn on your TV, and
of course.
And you know what's pretty interesting, on the remote control on some TVs, you know how you have to press the power button to turn on. On some TVs, you press the Netflix button.
It just goes straight to Netflix.
And it turns on and goes straight to Netflix. But not any of the other buttons. Like the home button, it doesn't turn on. Like you press Netflix and it turns on.
Yeah.
So I felt like every time I turn on my TV, I pressed the Netflix button.
Yes.
And I started to realize that what it was doing. Like,
crazy.
yo.
Yeah. They've got you. They've got you.
Yeah.
They've got you.
Yeah, it's crazy. It's crazy. It is.
Yeah.
And like social media as well. Talking, Instagram, Facebook. I think Facebook is a bit shit. Like I don't really use Facebook as much. Like
it's funny how same with me. Like it's kind of phasing out Facebook. Like not completely, but it's just. I remember do you remember the days of like Bebo and like.
Yo,
okay, let's not talk about Bebo because that's just embarrassing. But Bebo and Facebook and like MySpace and how it kind of led to
Friendster.
Oh God. Now I feel old. Yeah. Now I feel old. Like these people do not know. They don't know about Bebo. So and just to see how rapid the growth was with how these things are kind of like basically running our lives now. And I know I'm so bad with my Instagram, but it's unfortunately it's kind of like this catch-22, whereas that's how I do my business. That's how I build
Your
my
brand.
brand and my relationship with people. And so it's tough, man, you know.
It
In a
is.
perfect world, I'd be in
You,
the middle of a bush somewhere,
yeah,
like by a waterfall.
I'd say, like, I'd say there's a lot of benefits to it,
Mm,
but it's got to be sort of controlled, or you got to put like a leash on it. You got to put some
of
limits on
course.
yourself, because
Yeah.
yeah, like, what we're saying can get quite addictive.
Mm,
People start to get, engrossed in like how many likes you get, how many
of
followers
course.
you get, and
And that's what leads to the downfall of a lot of
that's
people's
it.
mental health, you know?
Yeah, it is very um it can get to your head. Like I've personally seen like a few people who, like, they really, what's the right word for it? Like they're oh man, I would probably be obsessed
Yeah,
at, like,
100%. Yeah, it's a great word for it.
views, likes,
Yep.
and there was a period where they took away the number of likes.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
it's back on now.
Mm-mm.
No, it's not.
I don't think so.
Or you
In New
can
Zealand.
choose,
Oh, can you choose?
I think.
I know it. Well,
I don't
haven't
have
seen
like a
it.
million followers, so I don't know.
Neither
But
do I. We got to ask Izzy.
yeah,
Gotta ask Izzy how he
I
runs
think
this thing.
I think it probably now is like you
Yeah.
can choose, or
Right.
it's a mix. I think, because
Yeah.
I saw it just recently. Like you could still see.
But I know in some phones, and I
Mm.
know I've tried to do this too, is like you can put some kind of like reminder or controls where your phone just shuts down. Like
Oh shit!
with my phone, like I can have settings that if I reach this amount of time on and like Instagram, for example, I've only allowed myself like, I don't know, a certain amount of time. Okay, say a couple of hours.
5
That's
hours.
probably, yeah.
A
Let's be
day.
real. Yeah. And like once you've reached that per day, the
Yeah.
whole app just closes. So you can't
Ooh,
actually get on that
access
until
the
the
app.
next day.
Oh.
And I had, oh God, it was so bad because I actually like, I was going through it so quickly that
Mm.
like I had to take that setting off because it was like,
Yeah, and
I
then you're
just-
back to
yeah, and then you're back to, so it's like, but there's other things. I have a wind down option on my phone. So at like a certain time, like I'm trying to wind my phone down. So, all the apps go silent but we can only try.
you gotta have, like, you gotta try to push to kind of move away from it now. I think like you kind of need to, because if not, we're just gonna fall deeper and deeper
Crazy, eh?
and
Like
deeper
this.
into that hole,
Mm.
and as much as it, it sucks to say it, but like we really rely on our phones now.
Yeah,
Like it
yeah.
has gotten so advanced, and like everything we do now with work, communication, this, that, like we need our phones. Like you don't really see anyone carrying like those brick phones
Yeah, yeah.
anymore.
Yeah.
Like I
Yeah.
think I would like, if it's funny, like I think I joke about it, but like, I think my dad was one of the last few people who had the brick phones.
No way. Like
Yeah.
with the antenna?
No,
Oh.
not that, not that bad, but
Because I saw one in a 90s video clip today and I was like, damn.
Yeah.
They like pull the antenna
Yo,
out and they
that one's
flip
wild.
the thing.
That one's wild.
It's
But
like,
I think
you actually gotta hold it like this.
I can't remember what phone it was, but like he was still on the keypad.
Yeah,
and I was
yeah,
like,
yeah.
man, I
Pushing
think,
it like 2-3 times to get the C.
yeah, he really struggled there when we first got him to change to an iPhone.
Yeah,
And that was like,
right.
that's a big jump,
Yeah.
and like, I mean, for my dad, obviously he's not that young and he not that in touch with technology, but he's like a pro now. He basically knows what he's doing,
Yeah, yeah.
Um,
But there are 3-year-olds who grow up with these devices in their lives and they're
I know.
crazy.
They know how to navigate.
Yeah. Seem some pretty
Easily,
crazy kids.
you know?
Like, yeah.
They know how to, like, YouTube is the dangerous
Yeah.
one as well. Like, how they can pretty much, that's why they've, they sort of learn from mistakes and then they upgrade. You have like YouTube Kids and this, that, whatnot. But like, I have kids being able to know what to search and like shit like that. And like, we didn't know this shit back when we were young,
Yeah, of course.
It's so crazy.
Such a different lifestyle, hey?
It is. But like, I mean, with anything, I think that we need to move with
The times.
times, but we need to learn how to use it to our best interests, and we need to capitalize on what there is.
Of course, yeah.
Because like, with every it's like a developing country and a developed country, like you've got to move. Like if not, we're just gonna be
Just
left behind.
Of course.
So
yeah.
obviously we don't want to be left behind, and especially in times like this. And
Yeah,
like
yeah.
it's pretty interesting how one of the things I think recently I just heard on what I think it was Dan Hooker who actually said on his podcast about Twitter. So
Funny you say that actually.
yeah, pretty interesting. I just heard it recently, so I just thought it would be quite interesting to mention that
Yes.
of how he was saying he
Like the
was
matchmakers
going
are all
around.
on
Yeah, he
Twitter.
was going around and asking people who has and
Mm.
does not have Twitter.
Mm.
And he says there are certain people in this situation, like in the UFC, the matchmakers,
Mm.
who are only on Twitter.
Yeah.
And like if you think about it, like if you don't use it, you kind of put yourself at a situation
Yeah.
where you don't capitalize on it.
Of
So
course,
you're
yeah.
losing out.
Yeah. Actually, it's funny you say that because like as soon as I heard that, I actually reignited my Twitter. I had one, but I deleted it. My sister's a very strong advocate on Twitter.
I think
She's
in
good
the
on
industry
Twitter.
that she is
Yeah, she
in,
has to be,
probably
yeah.
they have to be on Twitter.
Yeah.
It's a thing.
Yeah.
Twitter is a thing over there. Like way more popular. Like that's why when you say like region where we are at, I don't know if Twitter is like a big one. I would say Snapchat's like pretty huge.
Really? Man, I deleted my Snapchat
Well,
ages
maybe.
ago.
Well, I'm not talking about like our age, but like we're talking about the younger.
Oh yes. Oh yeah, the young people.
Yeah, Snapchat's like that thing now, and like
Yes, yeah.
I used it for a while, but I didn't really click with it. So I was just like, man, I don't like this shit, and just deleted it.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah.
That's not my thing. But yeah, talking about that, so in the situations like this, where if you want to get a certain advantage or you want to make certain connections, like in a way, you kind of have to like have a good social network
Yes, of
across
course.
several platforms. But depending on what you do as well, like if you're a MMA fighter, you don't necessarily want to like build a strong LinkedIn platform. You know what I mean? Like you're
you're
in the,
right.
I don't want to put it down. Like there's a huge. That's the other one. There's a huge actually growing platform on LinkedIn as well. And you never know what connections it might get you, but like
But you've just got to be there.
in saying that, you gotta be there. You gotta do some form of
course.
something. YouTube, Facebook, Instagram. There's so many now.
Yeah.
But like it's sort of like tentacles. You gotta have your tentacles
Little
out.
feelers
and-
out.
Yeah, you have to networking, PR.
Yeah, that's what it's about.
Like
it's not what
in this day and age, I feel that everybody is actually a businessman or businesswoman, because you are your own brand.
Of course, yeah.
You've got to build your own reach now, and like these days there are very little limits to entry into all these things. So if you're not capitalizing on it, you can't really complain if you're not getting as much from it. You have to.
Yeah, and you got to like teach yourself. I taught myself how to figure all these apps out and like create content.
You watch Gary Vee?
Yes, I do.
His stuff?
Yeah.
He's probably one of the best.
He's amazing.
Yeah,
like just
the advice that he gives out, the free advice that he gives out, and like and that man's like he's shouting certain things,
Of course, yeah.
and stuff that he's saying, and like I listen to a lot of his podcasts, I watch a lot of his content, and like stuff that he's saying, like whatever that we've just talked about, and like his stance on it is there is the good and the bad. It's just how you want to use it.
Of course, yeah.
Hey you, don't forget to subscribe, like, and share this video. Wise words from the wise lady. So
I've seen this.
Oh yes, that's a little challenge that has been going. I don't
gosh.
I don't want to put any pressure. But
but there's pressure.
Yeah, there's a little bit of pressure there, it's a little bit of a challenge. But for the people who are watching, listening, what would be some words of advice or whatever that you'd like to say?
Yeah. I'm not gonna lie, I did that because I've watched a few of your podcasts, so I knew this was coming. So
you kind of had like a
I know. I'm lucky. I had a bit of a lead-in, like warning. So I actually and John was talking about it like on the podcast you did with him, but it might have been him that got me into like stoicism or stoicism. Marcus Aurelius, and how he kind of compiled this this philosophy of life, and there's a great page on Instagram, I know we were just talking about it, but just of like these just moments where that really make you think, and there was something that I saw not long ago, and it was
which page or what page
so
is
it's
that?
called I think it's like Stoic. I'm gonna have to I'll give it to you.
Okay, yeah, I'll put a link on the video. Yeah,
podcast. But it's basically just like shares a lot of these like philosophies or these moments and quotes and things that kind of resonate a lot with leading a very purposeful life and leading a life that makes you happy. And so for me, there was something that really resonated, and it was there's a quote, and it said, dwell on the beauty of life, watch the stars, and see yourself running with them. And there was it's such a beautiful like quote or philosophy, because you could almost separate it into three parts. Dwell on the beauty of life. Obviously, take that time, appreciate what you've got, and that's something that I really kind of grabbed onto being back home. Is like I'm so grateful to be home. Watch the stars, take the time to like just be with yourself, and like I said, like meditate, focus on how your body is responding to all these kind of different things, and see yourself running with them. Like envision greatness for yourself, like set massive goals because you can achieve them, and so that's what I love. Dwell on the beauty of life, watch the stars, and see yourself running with them.
Wow.
Bam.
Wow.
Do I win?
I just like I fell into that whole chain of thought there. That's really good advice.
Yeah. And I'm really like such a strong advocate for like young girls to realize their true potential in life, and so I kind of have them in the back of my mind when I'm kind of sharing my story.
Yeah, don't the other one's like don't let societies.
Oh, there's so many.
Ooh,
Yeah.
just all that limitations that drops on you. Yeah, don't let them dictate what you want to do in your life.
It's almost harder now to like fight the system. You just wanna.
Yeah, that system's harsh. It's really harsh. It's like a machine. You gotta fight the machine.
Of course, I know. Yeah,
That's
power
just
to the people.
Yeah, that's it. So yeah, let's talk about your future plans.
Yeah.
So what's your plans from here on out?
So basically, coming back in the country, I'm not gonna lie, I was kind of like at this stage of my life where I was having a bit of like a crisis because I wasn't sure what I was gonna be doing. Obviously the whole transition happened quite quick, and so in quarantine's a beautiful thing. It's hard, especially in those last 2 or 3 days. It's hard because I did my quarantine in Hamilton, but it allowed me time to like sit back and actually make this plan. So what I did was think about what I wanted to do. I created a website, I created content. I basically did all this kind of stuff myself while I was in quarantine. I edited a YouTube video clip about my journey home. So all these things I was doing, and I wouldn't have been able to do it, and it wouldn't have allowed me the time to like actually stop and think about what I was going to do. Because man, as a fighter, you come back into this country and it's hard transitioning back into life and re-immigrating back into a country where it's so incredibly different than what you've just come from.
Spending 3 years in that environment.
Yeah, and I miss my scooter and my dogs. But and so people don't realize how tough that transition is, and I don't know. I'm still kind of making my way through it. I've read articles where it takes a few months to kind of like really get back into the flow of things. But yeah, so that's what we're doing. The website is basically centered around training people and sharing my insights and my experiences with women in particular. The whole brand that I've set my website up around is empowering women through martial arts, and so that's something I'm really passionate about. I love sharing my lessons and my journey with women and getting more women into the sport, and I just see that there's so much like positive potential with getting women into it, and obviously like the nature of what people think martial arts is about is changing, and so they're more willing to try now than I think they would have before, where it was a lot of kind of aggression and testosterone kind of linked to it, but it's changing, and so that's what I'm going to be doing. That's my future. Obviously, still fight when I can. My focus will be fighting for the next at least 2 or 3 years, as long as my body can stay together.
Till the wheels fall off.
Till the wheels fall off, yes.
So you've moved now, and you've trained. You're starting, your trainings with City Kickboxing. How's the experience been so far?
Oh man. Okay, so I've basically been here for the last 2 to 3 weeks now, and my thinking was, obviously, there were kind of some procedures that I had to do beforehand because the nature of where I'm staying, this is the best gym, like transport wise. So getting permission from my old gym to be able to train, and they're amazing. They've allowed me to do that. Obviously, talking with Doug and Eugene, who have been amazing and welcoming me into their gym, but just coming in and just helping, so there's a couple of girls that have fights coming up here, and so I've basically been coming in and trying to help as much as I can, and come in and grapple with them and do some, training with them. But everyone's just been so welcoming, and I'm so, so grateful. Like, they've just, honestly, it's like the last thing you want, so the last thing that you want is to come in and to not feel like,
not have that connection, what we were talking
because you're
about
already
earlier.
struggling with all of these like other things going on. You're having this like in a crisis, and so this has become a little bit of my safe haven. So I love it here.
It feels like home.
Yeah, it really does. Yeah, yeah.
And that family vibe,
Yes.
you kind of get that instantly.
Yeah.
It's pretty amazing.
Very grateful.
So that's for your future plans. So I'm sure that also, like, with how the progression of the country and the gym connections, and like like we said, I'm pretty sure there will be more doors that will open for you. Like, that's how I like to look at almost everything. Like, you always have to look at the positives. Like, you can dwell on the negatives. There's like 101 things that you can think about the negative stuff, but like if one door closes, you've always got to remember that there's going to be a few more other doors that's going to open. So you never know what's in in store for you.
Of course.
And yes, would you like to give shout outs to anybody or people or sponsors or
okay, yes, shout outs to obviously like City Kickboxing for like being amazing. Shout outs to also Auckland MMA, Hamish Robertson, who's basically been there from the start. New Zealand Boxer, amazing. They've basically like helped me kind of do what I want to be doing, and so they've just been so amazing. Man, I want to thank myself because it's been tough.
That's the most important person to thank is yourself.
Yeah. And so like I want to thank myself for just like going through some pretty tough times and coming out quite positive still, and quite hopeful. So
you gotta have hope.
Yeah, and with my family too. Like, man, I love my family. Like, just my extended family. My uncle opened up his home for me. He's going through his own chaos at the moment. He's opening up a new restaurant in Britomart. He's kind of like a very kind of well-known chef nationally, and so
I actually saw that.
Yeah. And so he's kind of going through his own chaos at the moment, trying to open a new restaurant, and he's got a young child, my little cousin Frankie, and so I'm just so grateful for everyone around me, and in particular, just
But it's good to kind of be in that circle, of family and supporting each other. Sometimes like it's this little, like, I feel like sometimes it's this struggle that actually develop you, strengthen your character,
of course,
and build you into a stronger person.
Yeah.
And like you just elevate.
Yeah. I love that. Yeah.
Without even realizing, you're just always elevating. And like they say, that meme that was going, tough times don't last, tough people do.
Hey.
I want to do it. I want to do it the way that guy was doing, but now somebody's gonna cut this clip and they're gonna post it somewhere, and I'm gonna look like an absolute idiot. So no, I'm not gonna do it. I'm not gonna. I'll practice. I'll practice a few times before I put it on. Officially put it on camera. Yeah. So, oh man, we've gone close to almost 2 hours. Pretty much. Pretty much the same as like when me and John did it. So it's pretty awesome.
Wow. Kudos if you got this far.
So I think let's just wrap it up there. Nyrene, I just want to thank you so much for your time, for coming and doing the podcast with us today.
You're so welcome.
I want to wish you all the best in your career as a MMA fighter. I hope many more doors open for you, and onto the world stage, and the whole 9 yards, and also like regaining back your mental health, strengthening yourself, and just and going on this new journey of rebuilding and resetting, and like
I appreciate that, man. Thank you.
And all that, like that's really important. And
it is,
I feel that like when to be able to go through something like this now, I'm sure, I'm very certain that you'll come out of this a lot more stronger. It's like a Nyrene 2.0.
Yeah.
You know,
Mhm.
there's like a
That's awesome.
upgraded version.
Yeah. New file name?
Yeah.
New file name?
Hey, 2.0? Oh, maybe, that's an
What
idea
did
right
you
there.
say?
Yeah, and yeah, and also like going on to do the stuff that you wanted to do, what you mentioned about with your plans and helping and reaching out to other ladies, helping them out, and all those good stuff.
Yeah.
So
Thank you.
yeah, let's wrap it up. Thank you very much, Nyrene, and that's us, guys. See you on the
Yay.
next one.
Bye. See you.
Thank you for watching this episode. Don't forget to subscribe, like, and share, and see you on the next one.